Hello everyone and welcome back to another Mara stock chart planning update video. Like we always do, I want to get started first with Bitcoin so we can get a better understanding of what Mara could potentially do based on the structure that we're seeing with Bitcoin and what we can be looking forward with it as well. Just remember guys, everything in this video, just like every video, is my own personal opinion. It is not financial advice. I am not always right on my trades, but I do always stick with them until I am proven wrong. And also, in case you guys are looking for some Discord communities with some genuine people focused on trading, I have my own Discord community, which is linked down in the description. You go to my website, you can get a free invite through there. And there's also a new community that I am a part of. I'm an analyst for. It's called Viper Trading. We're about to hit 2,000 members in that community. So if you guys want an invite to that one, let me know. I'll send it to you directly, and you guys can go ahead and join that community. It's really cool. Again, a few different markets that we focus on. As one of the analysts, I focus purely on crypto, Bitcoin specifically. So let's go ahead and get started, guys. I want to go over these quick articles real quick. I mean, like, things are just picking up. Things are picking up. And there's this face, there's this negative bearish face in front of Bitcoin right now that I want to clarify because it is causing a lot of fear. And there is no reason people should be getting out of feared out of Bitcoin at these levels. I'm going to explain what I mean in just a moment. But like MicroStrategy, they cut 20%, if I can find it somewhere here. Right here, 20% of its workforce as its Bitcoin buying multiplies. So like MicroStrategy or strategy now is so serious, right? Super serious about buying more Bitcoin. They're gonna keep accumulating. Look at that. They're even willing to cut 20% of their workforce just to save up more capital to buy Bitcoin. I think that's amazing. Well, it's terrible for these people, but it's crazy how serious they are about accumulating more BTC. And that's just amazing. And then they also propose a 2 billion convertible notes offering to buy more Bitcoin. So they're going to buy another $2 million worth of Bitcoin. Yes, they're liquidating their shares, or not liquidating, they're watering down their shares to do so. But that's just crazy. That's just crazy. So crazy. Amazing how Bitcoin has become what it is now, right? But now with Bitcoin, I want to go over that negative face real quick, right? I've talked about this in previous videos, but I want to use this as a reminder because I feel like it's very, very important. So basically, back here, we were like on the second half of, like in the middle, leading towards the second half of 2024, and we saw Bitcoin having these lower highs and lower low patterns forming. And within this, there was like interest rates was an issue, and it was scaring the market as well, just like it is now. But during this time, when we saw this long-term consolidation, we saw this fluctuation happen. There's two things, right? There's two things: that every low wasn't dramatically lower than the other one, indicating that there really isn't enough bearish momentum to even push this into like make significant lows every time. We keep seeing smaller three-wave patterns within all of these lows, but they're never overly exaggerated to the downside. And the second thing is, at the same time, there is continued background buying. A bunch of institutions, governments are buying. Things that are a little bit different now is that states are buying. So basically, it's the same thing that was happening here, but now it's multiplied much, much more. And then eventually we broke out of it. So there was really no reason to be feared out. And it was a good idea to keep accumulating during this, because if the foundation is getting stronger, why do you think it's over, kind of thing, right? And now same thing here. We have much more background buying, actually a lot more background buying in so many different ways. And also, just like the previous one, we're not seeing dramatic lows. We keep seeing like these three-wave structures. It's a little messier here, but the lows are never any lower. And we're still holding above this swing low. Technically, we're making higher lows now, technically. And then from this swing high to this swing high, we actually have a higher high. So we're actually still in an uptrend pattern, technically. And we're in the discounted portions of it. So we went up, came down, went up, came down. So it's time to go back up, right? And also within all these structures, and we've seen this many, many times before, and I catch them live not just during live streams, but I make videos all the time, and I always capture these, and they always get filled. Like we saw one here that got filled. This imbalance got filled, just like this imbalance. We saw a lot of these structure, fib extensions and retracements being filled, and the fib extension supportive areas tend to always get maxed out. It got maxed out here, it got maxed out here, and finally it got maxed out right here earlier today, as you can see with the big drop, and then we quickly recovered back up. So there's just no reason to get feared, and I plan to actually add more to my BITU position that I cover and I talk about a lot in previous videos. I showed the screenshots of that position in previous videos, so I'm not going to go over it again. If you go back to a video that says invested 110,000 into BitU, you can see what the position looks like there, and I'm ready to add more to it because we are continuing to hold this discounted level, so I want to take advantage of it. Before we jump in tomorrow though, the smaller structure for Bitcoin, basically what we're looking at is we finally got this filled. This area, I've been pushing it to the right constantly as we continue to retest it. Now with the current retest, it maxed it out, so Bitcoin is in deep value. Even if though it's not lower than this, it's very deep valued. And I said if we come down and try to max it, I said this yesterday, if we come down and try to max this out, I wouldn't be surprised if we quickly recover up from it, and we're in the middle of doing that right now. The RSI is also representing that it was also a good time to buy once it got maxed out down here. On the other hand though, if we do get rejected by this 120 moving average, which it's pretty much just about overlapping the 100% extension here at the what do you call it, the $96 $175 level. So we can easily get rejected by the 120, and we can consolidate once again. We can easily come down back to like 94.4, 94.3, where we see a little tiny macro imbalance. So we can easily come up, get rejected, come down, find support once again a little bit higher, this time actually above the lower liquidity line, and then try to attempt pushing up higher back to the resistance liquidity lines. So with all this being said though, any weakness, and if we break below this little swing low, any weakness, it's going to be quickly recovered. This is not a time for people, in my opinion, to be overthinking Bitcoin too much. We're a decent amount below 100,000. We have continued background buying. The foundation is just getting stronger. So we're repeating the same thing. We're repeating the same thing we saw back here though. And we're going to get ready to finally start moving higher. So the next break of structure area like this one right here that I have in blue, the reversal point was here once the trend finally changed. It created this last lower low, and it started fluctuating and it started moving up higher. So what we can see is something like this, but it's going to be in a smaller picture before we move up higher. So we see that in the smaller picture here, move up higher, try to reach this break of structure blue area just like in the previous one, consolidate within the area before coming up to the next imbalance area, which is right here. Imbalance area hasn't been filled yet. If we can consolidate there and not get rejected too aggressively by the 1 week 102.9k move imbalance, then we can start moving up higher and go to our next all-time high leg up, which is going to be up here, entering $110,000. But we still have to build up enough momentum right here. We can see it consolidate a little bit, come down. We can see it do its thing, build up enough momentum to try to break past that 120 moving average once again. And it also needs to break past the 96.175k level. Just like in the previous time, it got close to it, got rejected, came back down to a support, and then it pushed higher. And then we saw this one right here where it pushed up higher, got rejected, came down, but then it eventually pushed up past it. So we need to see that little bit of consolidation before we start building enough momentum and push higher and start going up to this resistance area created by the liquidity walls, which, as you can see, it acts as strong resistance before we can finally test this break of structure blue area. So then we can finally start moving up higher from there, right? So hopefully that made sense. Now to jump into Mara, I need to catch my breath. Ooh. So I said this in yesterday's video too. Excuse me, I'm a little sick. I said I want to see the price come onto this area. It makes more sense. I said yesterday it makes sense for Bitcoin to show a little bit of weakness, maybe come down and retest the red area a little bit more aggressively, retest the supportive liquidity walls again. And we did. We ended up seeing that, and it came down into this area right here. I kept saying that just like previous supportive extension red areas, fib supportive extension red areas like this one, we saw it here where we tested it. We saw here where we tested it very lightly, and we keep pushing higher and continue to respect this bit of a more of a long-term supportive, support line that we see down here. And we can continue to see that. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if this consolidates because we do have a FOMC minutes meeting tomorrow for the US. That can be very volatile. It can cause some volatility, maybe a little bit of weakness to try to touch this line and actually dip into the red a little bit. We also have a important jobs report, I believe, on Thursday, and that can also cause more volatility. So we can see 2 more days of volatility leading into Friday, where we can see this maybe stretch a little bit more into the red and actually touch the supportive line. Regardless, though, if you guys have been paying attention to Mara today, understanding that we have super strong support down here is a really, really great time to start accumulating. Now that we separated ourselves from this resistance area, which I said I wouldn't be surprised if it were to happen, more likely it did end up happening. So if you guys were paying attention to this, hopefully some of you have enough of a time horizon, like, the rest of February or maybe even throughout March to accumulate at these levels so we can start seeing this rise up, break past this resistance, and then use the 120 moving average as the next resistance, right? Because if we are moving down like here and we find support, the 120 can be used as a resistance, and then once again, if it were to consolidate. But basically, guys, don't be surprised if throughout the next 3 days of this trading week, we do see the price come up and try to retest this resistance line to see if we can break it or not, which will be realistically like 3 to 4% upside from here. I do ideally want to see this come down and actually touch the red more. I want to see it break into the red a little bit more, hopefully touching the white support line. It will create a much, much deeper, like stronger buying opportunity. But these levels right here, it's nothing to be shying away from too much because it's not much downside to come into here. And then it makes more sense to me that now, if we can see it come down a little bit more, even straight from here, we come up, try to retest this resistance, hopefully break it, so then we can start testing the 120 moving average resistance. I do believe that we're going to test either of these before finding an imbalance on the rise up to use as potential support. So then we can go ahead and start pumping up higher and attempting to reach these strong resistance areas up here. So I think I'm just going to summarize everything. I personally think that Mara is it's a great time to buy this stock. Now that we're underneath $17, right? We're below 1650. We're at 1622 post market. Any weakness tomorrow, I think, is a great idea for traders to accumulate, and that's basically my opinion on Mara. For us to start, strong resistances here, we got to keep an eye on these, and then also both of them overlap on the swing high as a resistance right here as well. So that's like I said, you can be conservative, 2% upside, but really it's like a 3 to 4% upside realistically as a little trade, and then waiting for the continued consolidation to happen once again. So yeah, guys, it's a very important area, great time to buy, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.